Hi, family. Hi, sis. Welcome back.
Hi.
That's your cue, sis. Okay. We're on lesson 204 in the reviews. Again, the main idea for this review is I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. And this is a review or look back on our previous lesson 184. That lesson is entitled, The Name of God is My Inheritance. God's name reminds me that I am his son, not slave to time, unbound by laws which rule the world of sick illusions, free in God, forever and forever one with him. I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me. And I went back and I took a peek at this lesson. And again, he opens it up, giving us sort of a background about the gap in the realm of the belief in separation and how that seemed to arise by seeing objects as dissociated and space between them with outlines. And we've all agreed on the definitions that we've given those objects. We have agreed to the names that we have placed upon those objects. He says, every time a brother accepts the name that we give him, there's two levels of separation going on. One, the acceptance of I am separate from you. And then the second was, and I accept this name that you have given me, which further separates me from you. So this is what we take for granted. This is how we make sense of the gap that we seem to be living in. And it's this that we must undo. And he's asking us to withdraw again back, away from physical sense and turning within, communing with Holy Spirit for the voice for God, to get that felt state of what is true, right? What is beyond this? We know that we came from God, which is one. We know that this dream is based on the idea of separation. So its opposite, reality, is wholeness and union. So that is, I guess, the goal, so to speak. That's awakening back to what really is. And then coming back into the realm of form from that place, it's like that diagram that I showed, we climb this ladder where we unself and we let go of what we never were. We get that insight or influx of truth, maybe through a holy instant or holy relationship. And then it's coming back down into the level of form, and we still deal with symbols temporarily, but we're here not to be duped by them, but to recognize we're going to repurpose them and use them to bring the mind of the sonship back to wholeness. Still be relevant to our brothers, still communicate to them in the way that they can receive the message and understand it, but we ourselves never lose sight of the underlying fact that God is one and I am that.
With all our brothers and sisters.
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And thank you, sis. A couple of things came in as you were speaking.
Perfect.
And, one of those was, let me try and remember it. Okay, yeah. One of those was how we have taught ourselves separation over millennia, right, in the illusion of time. We've kind of overlearnt separation. And it kind of hit me this morning that we overlearned separation through specialness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, we have
privatized.
Yeah, thank you. That's the word. Privatized our mind. And we really do believe that the agendas that we have in our mind could conflict with the agendas in another's mind, right?
Right.
I mean, we have there, yeah, we've taught ourselves, overlearned, like I said before, to make everything special, good or bad,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and to set it apart and then give it cause. Like that's what magic thoughts are,
Mm-hmm.
believing that all of these things we've named, we've separated, we've
Mm-hmm.
named, and then we've given cause to, apart from God, apart from ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things all make up this attraction, the ego's attraction to specialness,
Right.
all to support mythical me
Mm-hmm.
in the gap.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking again this morning, how many names for sickness have we made up?
Oh, countless, and it will continue.
You know, what's the flavor of the month?
That's
What's
right.
the flavor of the year? Like COVID?
Right.
Is the flavor
COVID.
of the year?
Now we've got a Delta variant of the COVID. So, once it's so funny because the ego will,
Comes.
what's that?
Wait till the Amiga comes.
The Amiga?
Got you. You said the Delta. Sorry, I was just being silly.
Sis, I
Okay, is
love
that more powerful than God?
Yeah, right. Well, needs to be seen that the ego will lob some new flavor into the gap so that it stays fresh. It always has new content that we can cling to. And so something will come up, it'll seem to run its course, and then we never hear about it anymore. And then something else comes up and it runs its course. And that's the pattern, because the gap doesn't exist, and it really requires our belief in it to keep fueling it, and it needs new material. That's so, yes. But the core idea of sickness is, I see what you're saying, that God created us with perfect health and wholeness. The idea of its opposite was, vulnerability, matter, and sickness. And that's what we have to keep spinning, all these opposites to God.
Yeah.
So we tried to take everything that we share, we tried to take out of oneness and own it, to privatize it. So instead of the universal one love, now we have a special love, a love that's just mine, and hey, get over here, ours, our exclusive love, to the exclusion of the rest of the sonship. We've taken,
babe, right?
What's that?
You and me, babe.
Yeah, exactly. And we call that love.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Against the world. So, there's another thing that came in too,
Mm-hmm.
was that, and is a question or a couple of questions here, is that as we look upon everything in the gap, the ego's gap, the gap diagram, as we look upon all of it, the good and the bad, the question really, it's interesting, because I asked myself this yesterday. And the question is, what is it that I want to see? And what is it that I want to believe, right? Because I have to believe it before I can see it.
That's right.
And how much do I defend what I believe is real in the gap? How much do I do that? And the next question that came, which was very, very helpful, was, do I want to be wrong
Mm-hmm.
about what I think I believe? Do I want to be wrong about what I think I believe, and therefore see
Mm-hmm.
the gap, right?
Yeah.
I think that's very, very powerful question. And for the most part, I think that if the ego answered honestly, it would say, no, I don't want to be wrong.
Yes, the idea of that's really the antithetical to the entire ego thought system, which wants to know something independently and definitely be right about it. And so to say, do I want to be wrong about what I'm seeing, requires me to admit that I don't know and that I was wrong, but only the desire to know truly will transcend the ego's defense of, well, of course I know. I have education, I have experience, I have a past with this particular subject. This is my personal experience, right? All of that has to be laid down in willingness, because we want to see what's really there instead. And we won't choose that until we know that this insistence of an I know mind brings us nothing that we want. Great humility.
So yeah, it's really takes great willingness that comes from great courage
Mm-hmm.
to be able to look upon something that's very disturbing
Yeah.
through the ego's filter that we're looking through, right? To try to prove that we're guilty and deserving of death.
Mm-hmm.
That's its only purpose. Yeah. To look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of actually casting judgment, to admit and really, really say it from our heart, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong about this.
Yes.
I want to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Holy Spirit can come in
Mm-hmm.
and really join with us and show us what lies beyond
Mm-hmm.
what the physical sense testimony is reporting to us.
So are you saying that in your practice, when you can state unequivocally, I want to be wrong about what I'm seeing, that
What I believe I'm seeing.
what I want to be wrong about what I believe I'm seeing, that is Holy Spirit wastes no time in just entering in, that's a statement that equals the level of surrender. That's the invitation to Holy Spirit and make the correction in your mind.
Absolutely, because I think there are kind of layers to this
Mm-hmm.
sometimes. And I was talking yesterday with a dear friend of ours,
Mm-hmm.
and she really brought this in. She was sharing with me a miracle that occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And she was really asking me, basically, do you want to be wrong, Nouk, about what you believe you're seeing?
Mm-hmm.
It was great because it just went straight to the core of the ego thought system, all through the bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. And I immediately saw that, wow, the ego's got this last defense up. It doesn't want to be wrong because then, like you said,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's got to put its hand up and say, I know nothing.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's great pride there.
Mm-hmm.
With the ego. It doesn't want to admit defeat, because as soon as it admits defeat, as soon as we say, I want to be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
I really want to be wrong about what I believe I'm seeing right now.
Yes.
Okay? I want to be wrong. Well, in that moment, when we do that, the ego ceases to exist.
Mm.
It can only exist when we collude with the ego,
Mm-hmm.
in wanting to be right about what we're seeing, we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what all the names of sickness are. Right?
Yeah.
Thousands of different
Yes.
labels we've given different sicknesses and different, what would you say, different degrees of
Mm-hmm.
severity.
And you can really feel, sorry, sis, I mean to cut you off. All of the medical science, all the science is based on matter, all prove this mind's standpoint that I know what I'm seeing. I mean, it's so heavily fortified. Seeing is believing. Well, matter is real, and here's the science to prove it. Wow. But that statement flies in the whole face of the gap, that I want to be wrong about what I believe that I am seeing. Like I'm just surrendering the mind completely, and I want to be wrong.
Want to be wrong. That's reversing perception.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right? From wrong to true perception.
Yeah. It's also, I think the thing that's getting me, what you're sharing, the desire is the power behind everything that we're experiencing. What you desire, you get, period. That's the law of perception. And so that I want to be wrong about it about my belief. That's really powerful. That's a real powerful statement.
And what this beautiful friend of mine was sharing yesterday was that her and her holy relationship partner wanted to be wrong. They joined together, wanted to be wrong about a seemingly conclusive judgment against a brother. They wanted to be wrong about that seemingly real judgment against another brother.
Yeah.
They wanted to be wrong. Took them a while, but they got there.
Yeah.
It's so easy for us to collude with the ego when physical sense testimony reports that somebody has done an evil deed and they've pulled it off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So not just the evil deed, but the person must be evil that committed the deed, right?
Right. Separation. Yeah.
There it is, right there. We're so quick to condemn, the ego and condemn.
Right.
We stop ourselves right there and, you know, completely go into it. I mean, it's a deep prayer, wanting, desiring to be wrong about what we believe about that person. Right? It's going back into this lesson. The person that we're condemning, whether they're from the past or the present, right? Whether they're a public figure, doesn't matter, you know, historical figure. If we're triggered by that person's name, we share with God.
That's right.
That person is the Christ. I mean, I'm looking forward to a time where I can actually call everybody Christ. Right?
Yeah.
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 I've called you Christ many times. Called me Christ many times. And when we call each other sis, there's an element of Christ in that. I don't call you Coreen. You don't call me Nouk. So, you know, we have had to drop the specialness over the years of having separate names.
Yes.
We don't have separate names anymore. You're sis, I'm sis. And that represents the Christ as far as I'm concerned.
And getting back to what you just were saying, though, a moment ago, like my ears heard this person say this. My eyes witnessed them say it. What they said was so offensive to who I think I am. There's emotions that flare around it. So I am so justified in this story that I'm holding on to. And while I crucify my brother, you know, we have to go back to the course and say, is Jesus literal? Does he really mean this? Because he says, when you're looking in the gap and you're looking at a brother and you're listening and you're seeing, he literally says, you are seeing what is not there. You are hearing sounds that have never been made. You are seeing your brother as he could never be. We're looking through, you know, this dark, dark lens, trying to make, we're looking into this and we're making definitions and we're seeing things that aren't there. And we're all agreeing that that's what's there, but that's not what's there. And so while I'm condemning a brother because I've decided how he's behaved and what he has said and that it's offensive to me, I can't but crucify my sis, you, and God and Jesus. You know, selecting one and pinning this ego filter over that brother and bearing witness to what has never occurred is the crucifixion of the Son, of which we all are. So you can't, you know,
you can't compartmentalize it, right?
Right. That's it.
We can't condemn one without condemning everyone, including Jesus.
That's it. He says there's no difference. And so a judgment of one brother is a judgment of every brother, even those you confess to love.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to be wrong. I don't want to crucify the sonship. I want to be wrong about what my eyes seemed to see. My ears thought it, that I thought my ears heard. The story that's playing out in front of me is only seemingly occurring to me in a dream because I've called it forward. I'm asking for this fantastic illusory experience to come to my awareness so that I can bite at the apple and stay in this sense of separation. Keep the story of Coreen going. Yeah, thank you, sis. That's really helpful. I want to be wrong about what I believe about the situation. Only then can Holy Spirit, that's the real heartfelt invitation of Holy Spirit to make the correction.
And I mean, even further, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to be wrong about what I believe in this situation.
Yes.
I also want to be wrong about what I see.
Yeah. Well, you had to believe it before you saw it.
Okay. I want to be wrong. If I'm in physical pain, I want to be wrong about what I feel.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in emotional pain,
Mm-hmm.
and believing an ego story that's feeding that emotional pain,
Mm-hmm.
I want to be wrong about this pain. I want to be. It's totally counterintuitive to the ego, but it's so powerful.
Yes.
Thank you. So shall we read the little prayer at the end of this?
Yeah, I'm going to read paragraph 12. That's what came to me, and also the prayer. Thanks, sis. So looking back on the actual lesson itself and paragraph 12, in case you wanted to join me on this, he's telling us God has no name, and yet his name becomes the final lesson that all things are one. And at this single lesson, learning ends. All names are unified. All space is filled with truth's reflection. Every gap is closed, and separation healed. The name of God is the inheritance he gave to those who chose the teaching of the world to take the place of heaven. In our practicing, our purpose is to let our minds accept what he has given as the answer to the pitiful inheritance we made as fitting tribute to the Son he loves. And the prayer, Father, our name is yours. In it, we are united with all living things and you, who are their one creator. What we made and call by many different names is but a shadow we have tried to cast across your own reality. And we are glad and thankful we were wrong.
There it is.
There it is. All our mistakes we give to you, that we may be absolved of all effects our errors seemed to have. And we accept the truth you give in place of every one of them.
See, there's the divine exchange.
Yes.
When willing to be wrong. Thank you.
So, and it's important to, before we can make that exchange, we have to be willing to admit or acknowledge that it's not a sin. It's a mistake. It's just an error. It's a false perception. We mistook our identity for a while. We were mistaken about what we were. When it's a mistake, we can hand that right over to Holy Spirit, who will make that correction. So we accept the truth you give in place of every one of our errors. Your name is our salvation and escape from what we made. Your name unites us in the oneness, which is our inheritance and peace. Amen. Thank you.
The name of God is my inheritance.
Thank you. Yep. Trading in symbols for the real deal, the real experience of union. I want to be wrong about what I believe my senses are reporting. Thank you. That was great, sis. So helpful.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.